Yo, I think you can hear me. Again, this is gonna be a short one. This was a day. This was a day. This was a day. What do we know? What happened? And again, sorry, I'm still battling with my sound issues, so hopefully I don't go out on you here. If I do, hopefully I notice quickly. What happened? All four officers in Minnesota arrested. Ostensibly, the thing we're demonstrating for happened, which is good. Yeah, hey, huzzah, right? Um, got bumped up to second degree murder. The others aiding and abetting second degree murder, which I think is a fair charge. I do, all things considered. Now we have to keep an eye on things to make sure that it goes all the way through the trial and they still don't slip in the okey doke and get a not guilty in there. Because if those dudes go on trial and it comes back with a not guilty verdict, this country is going to explode. Hopefully, the people of Minnesota know that. Speaking of Minnesota, the governor signed a order today directing the National Guard over to North Dakota, the border of North Dakota, after credible threats of violence. Now, I bet, mysteriously, the good Second Amendment red-blooded American types get really upset about the fact that the National Guard's being deployed to North Dakota. That's weird. Wait a minute. They're not sending the military against brown people. Oh, no. Right? Watch. You'll see. We'll see if I'm right. And again, I apologize. The reason why I keep looking over here is my mic technology is all over here. So the thing that keeps shutting off on me is over here. So I'm just making sure it's blinking and you can hear me. I'm not trying to break eye contact, you know? Yeah, that's going to be wild. That is going to be wild. And if those militia types really do show up and clash with the freaking army that they wanted so bad, that is going to be an interesting outcome out of all of this. And let me be clear, I don't want that. I don't want bloodshed. I don't want anybody to get hurt. But if you're out here doing racist ass baggery and you happen to get got, that's on you. Again, don't be a racist asshole publicly is a very, very, very low bar to clear. So if you're just so upset and riled up that you've got to come out and do something, I'm like, okay, hey man, you got a right to protest also. But if you're going to sit back and clap when other people are getting their heads cracked and then be all upset when it happens to you, I don't know what to tell you. Speaking of, in Buffalo, did y'all see the man that got attacked by the police in Buffalo? Pushed the old man down, cracked his head open so loud they heard it across the street, and stood there and watched him bleed on the concrete. You will see, I come back to this again and again and again and again. Obviously, the whole thing's criminal. But, you know, it's debatable. It's debatable. They were clearing the street. They were doing their job, blah, 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 blah. Here is when these things cross over into being criminal, is when they had the ability to intervene to help him and didn't. One of the first cops stopped right when he hit the ground, stopped and knelt down next to him, and another cop picked him up and pushed him to keep moving. Did you see that? Did you see that? And ironically enough, the National freaking Guard, the soldiers that are on the streets of the United States right now, those are the people that stopped to help the guy. You know, so let's just say, for whatever reason, you know, they have their thing with the riot shields, and you know, you don't let the line break, you don't let the line collapse, like whatever. That's bullshit. But let's say it's true. Even if it is true, then immediately behind, you should have a whole second set of people that are doing nothing but taking care of people and cleaning up, because otherwise, who are you protecting? Who are you protecting? What greater social good was carried out by cracking that man's head on the pavement and standing there and watching him bleed? Who was served by that? Who was protected? Who was served? Nobody. And I'm telling you, I've heard, I haven't seen, because I did check, but I've heard that those officers have already been suspended. If so, good. I hope they never work again. Good. But because I just saw a quote and I retweeted it, that all of this police brutality at the police brutality protest is proving a lot of points. And America sees it. I told y'all when we talked before, it's a lot of white faces out there getting tear gassed and thumped with riot shields and batons and stuff. And they're going to go home and talk to their families and talk to their grandparents and their racist uncles. And it's all just going to continue to flow upwards. I got a friend of mine. I have to be vague in the details because you might know my friend. They are of mixed race descent. My friend's half black. That part I can tell you. Their white grandparent is incredibly racist and says incredibly racist stuff in front of them all the time. And they're like, but you know, I'm black, right? And they're like, yeah, but you're one of the good ones. You're one of the good ones. I know people that think I'm one of the good ones. I mean, I am till I'm not, right? That's the thing. That's what I keep pointing out to you guys. And I shared a friend sent me a post where they had this awareness. This is what I want you to understand. When you hear these stories about people like George Floyd, Philando Castile, especially people that were just minding their own business and then just got killed, that's me. Just think about that. You know, it's me, it's Damian Poitier, it's TJ Storm, it's freaking Wayne Brady, it's Dave Chappelle, pick a black dude, whoever, it's any of us. Because it's all of us. Because if something happens to me right out here, again, streets of Burbank, the cops have been nothing but cool to me out here. All the protests been nothing but cool out here. I'm very proud of my city right now, but there's like a weird underground, like ultra conservative element of this city, but that's neither here nor there. If something goes wrong, understand the story you will be told is I was the 7-foot belligerent monster. That is what you will be told. They will go through, they will dig up every post I ever made that was openly critical, and they will paint me with the harshest brush possible. Because as I said on the Twitters, white privilege is always being given the benefit of the doubt. And you don't have to just take my word for it. To quote our patron saint LeVar Burton, don't take my word for it. Go back and Google the last 10 people of color that were killed by cops. Shouldn't be difficult to find the last 10. It probably was in the last 6 months. But the last few over the last few years, and go read the stories, see what it says about them. Digging up weed possessions from years earlier, digging like they were acting threateningly and things like that. Then go look up the accounts of school shooters, mass murderers, serial killers, the dude that ran over the protesters in South Carolina. Read their stories and just see the way the narratives are crafted. And you'll understand what's taking place here. So understand from the top down, there is a twisted perception of victim blaming in this country if the victim happens to have a certain amount of melanin in their skin. Now, here in LA tonight, there is no curfew, huzzah, which is a weird thing to like celebrate. That's weird. That you're like, there's no citywide curfew due to civic unrest. Yay. I'm like, whoa. Let's not forget the fact that it happened. And I just saw an article earlier today in the New York Times about how Trump's support amongst his base has eroded. Because who did COVID disproportionately impact? Old people. Who has some of these stunts recently, especially with the photo op and all of that, disproportionately impacted? Religious people. Who's his base? Old religious people that now have their grandkids, cousins, sons, and daughters coming back with cracked heads open for doing nothing other than saying maybe the cops shouldn't strangle an American citizen in the street and have there be no consequences and no repercussions. Maybe that's not okay. That's why you're seeing freaking Pat Robertson come up and say things, because he sees which way the wind is blowing. He knows that they tear gassed nuns. Now, don't get me wrong, we've established you got me. I don't know where you lost me. Hey. We've established that there is no depth to which some of segments of this population will not sink. And the fact that they are being critical of him now for what's happening now, by no means 5 months from now, they won't have had enough cognitive dissonance to kick in to be like, well, yeah, he's a dictator that is responsible for 100,000 American lives and ordered the use of lethal force against American citizens on U.S. soil from the United States military. But he's not a Democrat. You know, there's still room for that. So the reason why I did this video right now is the thing I am call upon all of you to do. Calling upon. I'm out of words. I've been at this literally since 9 o'clock this morning. I've been at this for 13 straight hours. I'm running out of words, but I'm trying to finish strong, y'all. The thing I am calling upon each and every one of us to do is if you know you've got that old conservative relative that maybe is a little right leaning, maybe says some off colored things, but we love Nana. Nana's a product of her time, right? Start needling Nana. Make sure she remembers. Make sure she remembers because this will slip out of the headlines. Like I said to you yesterday, there's still children in cages on the border. Still, that's not fixed. We just stopped talking about it. We will stop talking about the George Floyd protests. Although at this rate, 2 or 3 other terrible things will happen between here and there, especially pending how that freaking trial goes. But I would be shocked if a verdict was rendered before November. But understand, it is up to you to continue to post and continue to point this out and continue to tell your relatives about this and continue to remind them of what we've seen in these days, what we've seen in the last 2 weeks of what takes place in this country. And again, me, the eternal optimist, I am heartened. I feel good by the outpouring of support of people of all race, nations, and creeds around here that stood up, that said that is wrong. I am heartened by the outpouring of support from all over the world of people that see what is happening is wrong. And also, did you see, again, pardon my French if there's little ears in the room, that fucking coward in Bethesda, Maryland that like went after the little girl and pulled the sign out of her hand and went after the person that was filming the entire time. Y'all, my brothers and sisters, do you want to know what I would have done if I saw a man in Speedos trying to assault a child? That would have been the end of my story. Let me tell you something. If I get got by the cops because I'm beating the brakes off of someone that is attacking children, don't march for me. Don't demonstrate for me. I will have died as I lived. With my foot off in that dude's ass. I hope they find him, and they will. They will. They probably found him already. The internet's thorough, man. The internet's thorough. And mark my words, that dickless piece of shit will be on the news in a day or two, crying about how he was so upset and his emotions got the better of him, and maybe he felt threatened by 9-year-olds. I'm like, you fucking coward. You were the big man when you thought nobody saw it. It goes through the same steps every time, just like Amy Cooper, just like the woman that called the cops on the kids selling lemonade, that called the cops on the kids in the park. It goes through the same thing already. Oh, yep. Somebody said they already got him. I knew it. I figured if they didn't have him now, they're going to have him soon. Somebody said they already got him. I'm going to go on after this and I'm going to signal boost the hell out of who he is. And it goes to the same thing, that they're just being belligerent, you know, and they're like, ooh, I don't care if you film me, man. And then it comes out. And the entire world is like, what the hell? And then comes the sob story. Then comes the waterworks, you know? I hope that ass goblin loses everything. Why? Because again, people say, but does that teach them anything? Does that teach them compassion? First of all, someone who would assault a child for posting a sign is already beyond redemption. Second of all, again, don't be a raging asshole in public is a super low bar. There was nothing stopping that dude from waiting and letting them post the sign and cycling back 15 minutes later and tearing it down. Still would have been messed up. Still would have lived up to his optimal ideal of assholery. But no, he had to be the big man. I wish I am blessed with a day in my life where something like that happens in my presence, but it won't. It won't. Because that guy is counting on your blind obedience. That guy is counting on the fact that you won't look him in the eye, that you'll look away, that you will just accept what he says and how things are supposed to be because he just walked into the room and had white skin and testicles. And that means what he says goes. But guess what? Time's up, man. That doesn't fly anymore. You can't do that anymore. Well, I don't want to be overly enthusiastic. A lot of them still get away with it, but guess what? That guy's not going to. He's about to get fucking rinsed, into which I say, good, good, good. It's a low bar, y'all. It's a low bar. Okay? So, but to review, all things being equal, despite all that stuff that I just said, I still think it was a good day. Cops are in custody. Curfews are listing. I think some of the protests were about to start dispersing, but the city of Buffalo is going to have to pay a big class action settlement, man. That dude's got a lawsuit. That dude's family has a lawsuit, and they can't say he was a thug. He was an animal. He was being belligerent. He was rioting. They can't hide behind brown people. That man was old and lily white and just stood there, and they attacked him and cracked his skull on the ground and laid there and watched him bleed. And if that's not police brutality, I don't know what is. And if that's not police brutality, if that doesn't validate all of this, I don't know what does. So, interesting days lay ahead, y'all. But in the meantime, we're making progress. Don't let up. Don't let up. Don't get rocked to sleep. Don't let them bait us with the next thing. Sports are going to come back. Movies are going to come back. They're counting on us forgetting about all this by November. Push, 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 push. And don't let frickin' Nana and your racist grandfather and uncles off the hook. They must remember this. They must own this. And they will have a chance to make better in just a few short months in November. Okay. Like I said, it was a short one. I'm done. Because I'll talk all night. I'll probably see you tomorrow. Even I don't know. Okay.